Right, so let's talk about Poison Blade, right? Because I'm pretty sure I'm meant to really, really like this card, right? Either for gimmicky play or proper games. It seems attractive, right? And I've seen enough online, it seems busted. How is this legal, etc. But every time I sit down to build around it or look at it or think about it a little bit more, I don't quite see it, right? It definitely has its valid use, and it sort of carves out a secondary pathway, right? So you have, sorry, a tertiary pathway even, right? Because you have arcane damage, you have normal physical damage, we'll call it, right? And now you have life loss in a more serious fashion than what we've seen for the game. So it is nice in that sense, especially because it could be a decent finisher. But generally speaking, overall for a deck building, I'm not blown away by it, right? Now, for the focus of this video, we're gonna primarily focus on Cindra because I think that's where the majority of the discussion is, right? For Assassin, it's okay, but obviously, you have the higher cost base for your daggers, so it's not that fantastic. You have less opportunity to flick them, and well, you do have the retrieval effects and everything. I don't see it as powerful in Assassin as it can be in Ninja, and then overall, I don't see it as powerful as what it seems it might be. Right, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's get into it. So before we jump into it, right, we'll go over this. So this is, in my opinion, the basic game plan strategy for Cindra, right? Swing with a kunai, break the chain, swing with another, play most likely two other Draconic, hopefully, attack actions, flick knives, get rid of one dagger, and then re-equip, right? Nice and simple. The flick knives can go on any of the spots. You can use it on the second dagger swing or any of the Draconic actions, and you can end your turn with one dagger re-equipped. So stock standard, that's simplest play you can do, right? You'll need two resources, so your third and fourth card, right? Your fourth card probably adds to the chain. Your third card, pitch away, something like that, right? So yeah, looking at this stock standard objective, if we throw in Poison Blade, we're adding that one resource cost, so that's fine. All we need is a blue pitchel. But where the first sort of issue for me arises is you can't break the chain, right? So we're not breaking the chain anymore because Poison Blade is on the active chain rather than your turn, right? So it's not an ongoing buff. So if you use Poison Blade, you're then going to leave both your kunai active, and more so, right? You can use the flick on the second one, close the chain, and then try and get three Draconic actions off, but that feels like a little bit of a stretch because at this point, right, we're pitching one card, so without having one of the daggers in the mix to add to our chain, it can get a little bit complicated. So either you're losing damage or you're losing the ability to re-equip your dagger. So already, again, for me, it's already a bit of a downgrade, right? Maybe if it was Draconic, maybe for Assassin, if it had Stealth, then, it would be a bit more exciting. But as it is, that's the first issue I sort of run into. Now, if we take a look at the actual damage that it adds, right? So again, we've pitched one blue card so we can play Poison Blade and we can play our two kunai, our other two attack actions, right, that are blank right now, most likely going to be for around 3 damage. So this is what we're looking at, right? So 3 after Poison Blade sets up that 1 extra life ping. We then kunai, right? If it lands, it's 1 damage plus the 1 life loss. Second kunai, then our 2 attack actions for 3 apiece. The flick knives, wherever we're slotting in, will amount to an extra 2 damage, 1 from the hit effect and then 1 from the life loss effect. So all in all, what this means is we're pressuring 15 life, right? Not 15 damage. That is a very big distinction to make. And we're buffing from Poison Blade as a theoretical +3. Now, looking in at this, the issue that arises is it being 3s and 1s, right? So 3s can be shut down by a card from hand, right? Most blocks, we're getting to points where we're seeing more cards just have 3 block overall, right? And less 2 blocks. And then for the 1 pings, they can of course be shut down by damage prevention or armor. So the fact that you are getting the extra damage is nice, but the fact that it's backloaded, right? And you have to land those hits first, again, devalues the card. Now, as a finisher to a match, right? So taking most likely the blue variants of Poison Blade, holding on to them, and then in the late game, using it to get that 1 to 3 extra damage across that seals the game for you. Cool, fantastic. But yeah, just again, in terms of pressuring, I don't like that all the bonus from it is backloaded. Now, if you have, say, Blood Runs Deep or those other throw cards, sure, it gets a little bit better. But again, we're getting to a stage where damage prevention is readily available, and you obviously have Illusionist, so, sideboarding, right, for potential matchups where you want this type of damage versus just higher baseline, right, of damage. So, yeah, comparatively, we'll take a look at Spreading Flame. So, Spreading Flame does very, very similar to what Poison Blade does. So, Spreading Flame is a 1 for 3 with Go Again, so same stat line, but it is an effect that gives your Draconic attacks +1 if their base is lower than their current chain, right? So, for instance, a dagger has to be on chain link 2 or above to receive the +1. So, it's still kind of an easy feat to accomplish when you have those dagger swings. Again, we're not really breaking the chain because the effect is ongoing for the active chain, but damage-wise, right, I like these numbers a lot more. So Spreading Flame itself is still a 3, it can still be blocked. Our daggers are now 2s, right, so we can try and get that 1 damage across if our opponent tries to, prevent one of the next source of damage or throws out equipment, right, some equipment or majority equipment for 1 block, right, 2 block obviously still shuts it down, but 2 is off. The breakpoints, right, 2 and 4s, that's what we want, yeah? And then, obviously, the attack actions being 4s is better. So, we are presenting 1 extra damage here. But, again, I would say they're comparable. It's just whether or not you want the buff front-loaded or back-loaded. And I think front-loaded for the stat line that we're running, it's definitely better. Now, if we throw in some of those 0 for 4s, if you have enough of them to make them readily available with Poison Blade, then that makes it a little bit better. But, generally speaking, you can't really count on finding X card with X card. Yeah. So again, comparable, but I like Spreading Flames better because again, the breakpoints are much cleaner. Now, there are also a few other cards for us to compare it with. So we can run, 3 different variants of Poison Blade. Spreading Flame only comes in red, but then we also have cards like Uprising, Rake Over the Coals, and Knives Out. So altogether, right, there's 5 decent buff cards for Cindra, in my opinion, right? Because they're ongoing, you can get decent value out of them. They are a bit comparable to just a +3. So again, Poison Blade just off of Flick Knives, 2 dagger swings and a Flick Knives, that's a +3. Spreading Flame just off of 3 extra cards in hand, playing your whole hand, then it's most likely just a +3. Uprising though, so the next 4 Draconic attacks get +1. You don't have to pitch for it. So if you have some way to get the resources for your dagger or some other discount, then Uprising gets a little bit more lucrative because maybe you can throw in that 4th attack action, right, rather than pitching. Same with Rake Over the Coals, so that's just a +1 for your Draconic attacks this turn. And then Knives Out is probably the weakest of the lot, right, because it only affects your daggers, so you do kind of want to line Knives up with your big dagger swing turns where you're trying to go for those extra swings, right, so you need the legendary spec, you need some way to generate resources or discount your daggers. What other ways? Aside from, just Tunic or the Bloodspite chest piece, right? Not really anything too extraordinary for Cindra, other than, having that Arsenal card. But yeah, we're playing around 4 cards and what we can consistently do every turn. So again, for comparison's sake, Poison Blade is comparable in what you're getting. It's just whether or not you want the stats front-loaded or back-loaded, right? So yeah, if damage prevention wasn't becoming a readily available thing, I would like Poison Blade a lot more, but as things are, as the direction of the game heads more to a higher average of block and more toolkits for every single hero, I just can't fall in love with Poison Blade. Even from a gimmicky standpoint, trying to build combos around Poison Blade, I just go, well, I can get way more chain links out of a lot of different cards to value Poison Blade, right? If we throw in, the draw engines, prowess, mask of momentum, etc., does that amount to an extra attack action more consistently, or does that amount to an extra dagger swing more consistently? And I would heavily lean towards it being an extra attack. So Spreading Flame, right? As long as I'm playing mostly Draconic attacks, Spreading Flame gets better. Uprising, I can hit that 4 sweet spot and make it a nice value card. A 0 for +4 is good, right? And same with Rake Over the Coals. Knives Out, again, gets a little bit weaker because unless we're swinging with the dagger, we're not getting any extra value out of it. But it is blue. So ideally, what I'm trying to say is I do like Poison Blade. I do not think it is broken or busted, right? It is a great effect, but it has been properly aligned with the stats of the game. So yeah, I want to love it, I want to use it, but for proper competitive matches, I'm probably only taking the blue variants, right? I'm probably still liking Knives Out just because I want that blue hard line. So again, I can have that consistent line of 2 dagger swings, one effect that maybe goes a bit higher, in this case Spreading Flame, or a 1 for 4 with Go Again, 1 for 5 with Go Again, something like that, right? And yeah, mostly aim for Draconic so I can get the correct chain links. I don't have to fear breaking the chain, both Uprising and regular calls, right? You can break the chain, so you can do that first swing, break the chain, have 3, re-equip both daggers or whatever daggers that you've destroyed, right? And have a much better time, in my honest opinion. And yeah, the amount of damage that you can do just by presenting more attacks than through trying to aim for paying 1 to retrieve and swing again, it just, to me, even in the combo side, Poison Blade ain't it, right? That's what my thoughts are. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Yours. Yeah.